Hello friends, welcome to today's asana breakdown. We will be going through the foundational requirements of Mayurasana, otherwise known as Peacock Pose. If you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so. That would be deeply appreciated. To begin with, Mayurasana is one of the oldest non-seated yoga asanas in the hatha yoga tradition. And it is typically practiced with the wrists turned and the fingertips pointing out towards us. If you don't have the wrist mobility or wrist flexibility, do not worry. You can always practice it with the fingertips pointing out towards the side of your mat. What's one thing that's really important to keep in mind about Mayurasana is that it is an arm balance that requires technique. It's not so much about strength, but it's more about technique, like all of the other arm balances and inversions in yoga asana. So if you haven't warmed up yet, I'm going to link all of my videos of my core series below in the description. You want to make sure that your core is nice and active, particularly your transverse abdominis, which is your TVA, the deep core muscles of your core. That's going to be essential for entering this arm balance. So we're just going to begin by prepping for this pose because you want to make sure your wrists are really warmed up. So circle over the wrists. And as you do so, please make sure that your fingertips and your knuckles are gripping down onto the earth. Try to create that activation and wrapping the triceps in. And once you feel as if you warmed up your wrists, go ahead and turn your palms so that the fingertips are pointing out towards you. So make sure that your distance here is wider as opposed to narrower. And just lean towards your heels for a moment here, creating that nice stretch with the forearms and the wrists. And on your next breath out, lean forward towards the top of the mat. Inhale to lean back. And exhale, come forward. From here, you could either stay here, but maintain that gripping of the mat. This is going to be essential for Mayurasana. So you're gripping the mat. Walk your feet behind you. Drive your heels towards the back of the mat and hold this plank pose, creating that wrapping of the triceps in. Pull the chest and collarbone forward. Engage your glutes. Hold it here for 4, 3, 2, on 1. Slowly lower down the knees. And we're going to make our way onto our backs here, just to warm up through the back, since Mayurasana is going to require posterior strength. Prepare for oscillating cobra by bringing your left hand at the 10 o'clock direction and your right hand at the 2 o'clock direction outside of your mat. On your inhale, rise up. Press the tops of the feet to the ground. Hips stay heavy. As you exhale, you lower. Take 4 more rounds of this at your own pace. Inhale to rise. And exhale, lower. Inhale, rise. And exhale, lower. Move through your spine. Inhale, rise. And exhale to release. Now, one of the best poses to prepare for Mayurasana is Salabhasana, locust pose. And the action is going to be very similar to locust pose because it is the action of retracting your shoulder blades, meaning to squeeze the shoulder blades in together as if they're trying to kiss one another in Mayurasana. So bring your hands behind you, thumbs pointing up towards the ceiling, and we're going to take this piece by piece. On your next inhale, lift up through the chest, then squeeze the shoulder blades down the back body. Imagine as if you're driving the shoulder blades to touch. Drive down through the fingertips. Reach the back of the mat with your fingertips. Then float the feet. Stay active in the legs. Reach out through the feet. Stay heavy in the hips. Find your elevation for 3, 2, on 1. Push back and take a seat onto your heels. So the action of locust pose is going to translate very nicely into Mayurasana. Take an inhale to reach your arms overhead. And I want you to just roll the shoulder blades down the back body. Now for Mayurasana, what's important here is about pulling your chest and collarbones forward while your legs are reaching behind you. It's kind of like a teeter-tot. And if you find yourself leaning too much forward into a chin stand, don't worry, but get out of it. Get out of it. You want to be able to build this strength from the core to the posterior chain. So, to begin with, we're going to take our triceps, and our triceps are going to act like a shelf here. So your triceps are going to go in the space between your belly button and asis, this bony prominence of your hip. So you're going to imagine yourself and your arms being the shelves in this pose, while your TVA, your deep core muscles, are working to create that resistance to lift you up. So start off with the feet together. Position your wrists in any way you choose. You could either have the fingertips pointing out to the side, or if you do have the wrist mobility and flexibility, you could keep them pointing out towards you. Remember to modify according to what is appropriate for your depth. So take an inhale to prepare. Remember this action of pulling the collarbones forward. And we're just going to start off by lifting our legs up. We're not going to straighten our legs just yet. So for this first variation, take an inhale to prepare. On your exhale, I want you to lean forward. Keep your gaze forward. Lean until you can lift your legs up. Stay active in the core. Grip the mat with your fingers. Retract the shoulder blades. Remember locust pose action. Then release. Sit back onto your heels and stretch out the wrists for just a moment here. So it is going to be like a teeter-totter. You want to make sure that your gaze is forward. If your gaze is down, you're going to fall flat on your face, and we don't want that. Remember, this is the same action as locust pose. So for this next variation, we are going to walk our legs the distance of the mat. And we're going to try to lift our legs up with straight legs this time. And take your time in this. And when you're ready, fingertips, set your wrists at the appropriate position you choose. Take an inhale to prepare. And this is all about you shifting your weight forward into the fingertips, transferring that weight into the hands. So take an inhale here. On your exhale, begin to lean your weight forward. Reach out through the toes. Pull your chest and collarbones forward. Hold it here for 5 breaths. And release. Take a moment to breathe, to recalibrate, to recenter. On this next variation, we are going to try this pose with our legs together this time. And as our legs lift up, we'll try our best to straighten it. And don't worry if your legs don't straighten just yet. But what's important here is the action of your legs staying active and sending the energy towards the back of the room, right? Your collarbones is pulling you forward. Your heart is shining through while the legs are pulling you out. Remember, it's like a scale. So set your wrists up, set your hands up. Legs are together. Take an inhale here. Remember to pull your collarbones forward, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and on your exhale, lean forward, lean forward. Point out through the legs, stay active here. Squeeze shoulder blades down the butt. Grip the mat with your fingertips. Engage the glutes. And exhale to release. Now remember, don't rush for the legs to straighten up. What I want you to get used to is the transfer of the weight into your palms. And remember, you're still gripping the mat away and pushing the ground away from you. Sometimes we tend to lean too much into the arms as a shelf without realizing that we need to create that resistance to make you feel lighter. And again, if you want to develop TVA strength and conditioning, as well as pelvic floor strengthening, which is required for poses like Mayurasana, please visit the links that are in the description below to work on building that awareness, working with the breath and finding these challenging yoga asanas. And in the 10th century, the yogis believed that Mayurasana was the destroyer of all sins and diseases. But it's a great pose. It's a wonderful strengthening and amazing pose for teaching you the foundational requirements. And again, the prep is harder than the pose itself. So please focus on locust pose and developing that posterior strength and awareness. I hope this tutorial has helped you, and I look forward to sharing more asana breakdowns and tutorials with you in the future. Please go ahead and comment below about your experience in this pose, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.